Alright, let's jump in. Let's play some more. See what we can do. 700 solved, and even 700. Dang. It's a big round number. Alright, I think I am not ready to jump straight into the garbage here. I don't remember which one is the garbage. I think it's this one. Yep, that's the one. That's the garbage. But plenty of other stuff to do out here. Depending on what I feel like clicking on and where I feel like going. So many compasses. I don't know about all these compasses. I think there's one under here that I haven't done yet either. Yep. And this one. What? That's fascinating. That's huge. Okay. Oh, sure. Yes, of course. Naturally. Alright. There's a lot of things to try my hand at here. Where do we want to start, do you think? What is the immediate plan? Is this all of them? 8 left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. That is, in fact, all of them. Alright. Cool. I'm kind of intrigued by this fiasco. Maybe we'll give this one a shot and see what happens as a result. Okay. So where do I start here? Probably the 4. That seems like a good place to start. Since every single one of these needs to get us one of these rose circles. They need to extend out from here in order to arrive at rose circles somehow. Unclear if this just takes that. It can. 3 here. Oh, 3 in the corner is actually fascinating. Is there another 3 in a corner somewhere that I can start with? That'd be helpful. There's lots of 2s on corners. I don't know what to do with those. No 1s. 1s would be easy also. 3 next to a 2. It's a lot of possibility. A lot of these are a lot of possibility. There's a lot of different ways that these things can shake out. So what do we think? If there's a wall here, can this grab this circle or this circle? This can definitely not grab this circle. Because if this does that, yeah, it's a problem. And this likewise can't grab this circle. But either one of these seems like it could grab this one with no problem. Oh. Boxy. I missed that boxy was a thing. Never mind. I take it back. This has to be exactly that. There is no world in which it is anything other than that. This, likewise, has to be exactly that. Because of boxy. Boxy sure changes things, doesn't it? Alright, so this all needs to be that. And because of the dividing wall, it can't progress any farther. This needs to get either this or that. This... This is more open. Boxy. Dang, boxy changes things. Okay. Like, this can't do this because of the watchtower, right? We can do this, though. And then this can go up, and then this grabs that. And then this is a separate thing, and this is a separate thing, and there's other separate things. There's a lot of possibility here. But all of it is possibility, none of it is guaranteed. So how do we line this up such that any given thing is guaranteed? Oh, there's symmetry. The whole thing is symmetrical, isn't it? Except for the watchtowers. The rose symbols are all in the same places. The watchtowers is what changes the symmetry. Interesting. Very interesting. Are there any spots that are in weird enough places that they can only belong to one rose window? Like, that's kind of how I got this, right? Is because of this wall, this spot can only ever go to this rose symbol. But at this point, I think everything has at least 2 symbols that it can go to. Some more. Like, this could be either this one or this one. This can either go that way or down to here. Or even further if it wants. There's like corner spots, but they can go up or right. So that's not like exactly helpful. This is a 3. Which means this has to grab this. So that has to do that. This might extend further out. Not clear yet. This going out to here, I think means this has to be a wall. Because it can't take all of it. So it has to go out, yeah, I think it goes out to there. Which means the rest of this is walled off. And this is now collectively part of another symbol. Which symbol do you suppose? Because it could be this one or it could be this one. Distressing. This cannot collect all 6 of these. So if it takes that, it has to stop here. Might go left further, but it has to stop here. Or it has to go down to here. I mean, meta-knowledge regarding uniqueness seems to imply that it has to do this, so this is required to take the rest of this space down here. Rather than going like this, and this being like some amount of either one could be however much. But I guess I don't know for sure. I wonder if watchtowers count as a symbol contained in a region. I guess by definition they have to sit on the borders of regions, except for a 1. But even then, it's not in a cell, right? It's between cells? This isn't just, like, weird philosophy of puzzle game. It's a question of whether or not Watchtower plays with Solitude. Or if the two are mutually exclusive. Man, what else can I do here? Where else can I take this? Okay, if this takes this, right? If this is not... If this purple doesn't extend out to here, then this has to happen. Which means this takes this out to somewhere. Both of these have to be part of the same thing. Because this is a wall here. Oh, but yeah, at this point, this can't be a part of any other symbol. And if this goes all the way out, it violates the watchtower. Okay. So this has to go out to at least here. The implication, then, is that if this happens, it can't go down, and this needs to be a part of another... This could be part of this, actually. But it can't go into here because of the watchtower. And this can't take up both of these. So something else needs to be here. And that needs a symbol. So it needs that. Or it needs to be part of this. But being part of this violates that. And this doing that means that this doesn't have a symbol. So I think this can't go left. That is how I am interpreting this. I think this cannot go left. So I think it has to come down to here. Maybe it goes further down. But it's definitely walled off here. So this now is collectively part of another region. I mean, I guess it could... No, it can't be separate. Yeah, this has to be because 2. So this has to be 2 together. And this can't take this symbol because of this 2. So it has to go up. And it might need to go left again in order to resolve these watchtowers. Otherwise, these watchtowers are striated this way. Which, like, this doesn't work. So yeah, this needs to come out to here. And then this does this. And that is all valid. And now what? I have done this small section, and now I'm in trouble again. Now there is not another obvious in. This 2 is interesting. So this can't all be 1. So it has to be either split like that or split like that. Same here. This 2 has to be like that or like that. If it's like that, then this has to be a 3 like this, which doesn't work. So this has to be a 2 like that. This can go up, or it can get sealed off here. If it gets sealed off, this needs to be part of that, which doesn't work with the 2. This has to go up. Which means that if this does this, this can't get a symbol. So it has to do this, so that this can get this symbol. Means that goes up here, this has to cover that space. And this has to grab either this or this, but it has to go at least to here as a result. So this is there. What does this mean? I think this corner should be telling me something, right? It's either split like this, or it's split like this. If it's split like this, then we have this, and then this is split. And then this has to extend out to here, at least. This needs to... Can this go all the way to the right? This might go all the way to the right. It's not impossible. Weird, but it's not impossible. Oh no, it is impossible, because then that would put dividing lines here and here. So this has to get its symbol here, which means this has to get its symbol here, which means it has to include this. I feel like this has to do something like this, or like this, and then this comes here, and then there's a wall there, or like this, and then there's a wall there, and those both seem pretty much the same. That's concerning. That's concerning that either of those work in that situation. Which means this is probably wrong. Ah, meta-knowledge. Either way, though, there needs to be a vertical wall here or here. Right? Like that. Or like that. And then this needs to be included that way. So regardless, this space cannot grab this circle. It has to grab either this one or this one. Met a knowledge, what did you say to them? What did I say to a knowledge? It's a very good question. Wish I had that knowledge. But if this has to include that or that, yeah, this is now like the second layer of hypothetical. If I am guessing at which way this resolves. I don't like this. I don't like any of this. Can I prove that this is wrong? If I do this, then we have to do this. So this has to grab that. This now has to come out to here, which means that has to be walled. This now has to grab that, which means that has to be walled. That has to go up there. Like, this seems fine also? Everything is fine. All things are fine and nothing is a problem. Hate it here. Until it's not. Yeah, and that's like 4 layers of hypotheticals later of like, well, what if it's this? And then what if it's also this? And what if it's also this? Harumph. you know, rewind back here and undo these walls. Hey, Cryptomancer, how's it going? All right, what else can I do here? How else can I determine this business? Can I do more with these threes? This 3 could be this. What if it's this? Then we have to do that. Which doesn't seem impossible. What if it's this? It also doesn't seem impossible. Okay. Maybe we can do something with the 2s out here. The 2s out here, I think, is somewhat reminiscent of what was going on over here. So maybe I can figure that out from here. Like, does this have to be a thing on its own like that? In which case we're doing that? Or does this extend up? In which case, that is a separate thing. Let's see. If this extends up, then it stops here. This has to be a separate 2 like that. Is that okay? Unclear. If this wall's here, though, we have a 2 here and a 2 here. And then this has to be either this or this. And both seem... No, this is not valid. Because now this can't get a symbol. So this has to go up. Where does this go up to? There's nowhere for this to go up. It can't extend this way because then this column can't get a symbol. Alright. So this must go left. Which means it must continue to go left. Which means that and that is happening. Alright. And then if this is sealed off in this way, then this has to connect here, and it's unclear whether or not this connects there also. And it's unclear whether or not this connects. Possible. Not guaranteed one way or the other. This does have to come down in order to grab this, which means this has to be a wall this way. And then it has to either go left or go down. Because of the 2. Which we already knew. It has to go left or down because of the rose symbol, but whatever. It's fine. This 3 is maybe a little telling here? Like, if this connects here, right? Then you have to have a wall here. That has to, yeah, that has to go exactly that way. So this comes down to here. Like, this is fine. If this doesn't connect, then... Hold on. If this... Can this not connect here? If this doesn't connect here, then the only symbol available is here. Which doesn't work. So yeah, this space can't grab this symbol with this 3 in the middle. For sure, for sure. So it has to grab this symbol. So it has to grab this space. So this has to be walled off. And then this has to come down here. So that has to be walled off. That has to go down there and there. This is walled. And this is unclear. All right. Progress is coming in fits and starts. Drips and drabs of forward motion. As each separate section is resolved entirely on its own. I hate it here. Why can't it just flow? Why can't the whole puzzle be, you know, connected? Alright, so in this situation, this has to connect here. Unclear whether this has to be a part of that. This could still connect left instead of connecting down. Oh, this has to connect down, doesn't it? Because if it connects right, it still has to connect down. So this has to connect across here. In order to fulfill this 3 as a 3. So that has to do that. This could still grab this. No, because if it does that, it stops here. And then this has to be horizontal. Okay, yeah, so this has to do this. Alright, now what? We're so close. The end is in sight. Just gotta do it right. What does right look like? Good question. Alright, I have the vibe. You ready for the vibe? This is the vibe. Damn it. The vibe was wrong. This is the legs part of an owl. What do owl legs look like? Apparently I have no idea. I've never seen an owl before in my life. Couldn't tell you how to draw an owl under any circumstances. Feel like a medieval manuscript illuminator drawing a cat from memory, having never seen a cat before. Owl legs are freakishly long, they just hide them in floof. That's probably true. I think I believe that about owls. Alright, so if that doesn't work, then... yeah, because if that doesn't work, then this has to go where? Does this have to go down? Can this just go across? Can. Cannot. Because that would mean wall, wall. So it would have to go here. Which then requires wall there. So then this has to go across. So this, this is what I was going for. Because this does work. And then this could be a 2 this way. No. This could be a 2 this way. No. This way. No. This way? No? No. Both of those, no. Yeah, the 2 doesn't work like this at all. So this doesn't work. This is not the 2. for this 3. So there's a wall here. Which means this has to go all the way across. Which is illegal? I think I did something else wrong here. If there is a wall here... Oh, there could be not a wall here. No. If there is a wall here, then this has to come down. This has to go across. But this doesn't work. Yeah, wall here just doesn't work. So these have to be connected. Which means it has to connect to that. Which means this. And now what? Because I think from here, this needs to either grab this or go all the way across. And we've already learned that all the way across is not the way to go. So that means this. Which means this. Which is exactly where I was a second ago. Which is concerning. Maybe this does work. No, because this needs a symbol. This needs a symbol now. It can have that symbol, though. Oh! It does work. I don't know why I didn't see this as a possibility. Like, this... I walked through this combination, like, 5, 6, 7 times, and each time I was like, no, that doesn't work. No, that doesn't work. It does work. Doofus. Absolutely works. Alright, everything's fine. I found it. I found the owl. Everything's gonna be okay. And its freakishly long legs, yes. Correct. Alright, let's take a look at this, shall we? 144. So every 84 is part of the same thing. 144. Yikes. None of the 5s can directly touch each other. And if they are, they have to be part of the same thing. Alright, we're doing this. This is what we're doing. 84s are blue. All 5s are orange. We have mismatch and size separation, which is fascinating. Given these walls, though, this actually does give me some information. This has to extend out from here in order to connect across to the other 84s. Likewise, these 84s have to cross this gap somehow. There is no issues with a region connecting multiple area numbers. So like this, for example, is fine. It's a lot of 5s to cover without many different pentominoes. Yeah, there's like, what, 12 pentominoes? Yeah, they can touch is the thing. As long as they're not separating the 84s from each other. Because all of the 84s have to touch each other. There is not enough room in the puzzle for any of the 84s to be separate. But if these don't touch, this 5 cannot extend to this location, right? So either they are in the same region, or they are separated from each other because of size separation. Size separation here is wild. Size separation is doing a lot of work. Minimum 5 also makes gaps hard. That's true. There can be 5s that are unaccounted for by area numbers. That is a thing to keep in mind once we get to the end. There can just be loose 5s, as long as they follow the mismatch and size separation rules. Or even 6s, for that matter, yes. There can be loose anythings. And a lot of that is going to depend on how we get the 84s connected with each other. So, like, through this gap, or this gap, or this gap, the 84s need to come down and connect to these 84s. All the 84s got to connect to each other. Some amount of 84 needs to crawl up through here as well to keep the 5 separated from each other. Because there is only so much connection the 5s can do. Any individual 5. And then also mismatch. Wow, there is a lot going on here. Do I have anything that I know has to connect to other 5s in a specific way? Let's see. If this is a 5, then all the rest of this has to be 5s, which does not work. If this is a 5, all the rest of this has to be 5s, which does not work. If this is a 5, all the rest of this has to be 5s, which makes an area 7 piece. All of this has to be 5s. Now, this can work. This could be the T here, for example. But, like, if this is a 5, all the rest of this is a 5, which has to... Okay, yeah. So the same logic here. If this is a 5, all the rest of this, which doesn't work. If this is a 5, now this could be the lowercase t. So both of these could be 5s. There is a world in which. These now are separate, so this has to come out here, which means it has to touch that. And this has to come out here. Okay. Progress is being made. I like that. I like progress. Does this connect up? Or is this its own shape and needs to head down? That's a real question. This can go up 1. If it goes up 2, it's overexposed. So it has to go up, down. Up, down. It has to go down at least 1, which means it has to connect here fully. Which means the rest of this has to be sealed off. We've done it. We found 1, 5. We have found the lowercase t. So now we have to do something similar with these diagonals in the center, right? Figure out how much they can touch. Because, like, if both of these are 5s, they're both overexposed. Likewise here, and here, and here. Which means, at minimum, we need to have blue here, and here. And here, and here. I guess that's not true. Like, it could do that, right? And then this could be separate. Maybe. But there has to be some blue in the middle here. For all of these. No. That's again not true. There could be a loose 6 in the middle here somewhere. Pretty sure there's a long-topped uppercase T. Is it like a red-chested blue T? Are we gonna start getting into, like, bird taxonomy for these letters? Yeah, actually thinking about it, this could be an entirely separate thing here. Like, this could be, you know, that. And then the 84 could still connect through here. So I have to be a little bit careful with how I commit my colors. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 144 total area. Minus 84 is 60. Which is exactly all of the pentominoes. Unless there's like a miscellaneous 10 in there somewhere. But that makes it hard to have just like a loose 6 somewhere. Considering minimum 5. But it is possible for this puzzle to be literally all of the pentominoes and then an 84. So should we work under that assumption? Because that's much easier to solve than trying to figure out whether there's like a loose, you know, 7 somewhere. Let's just assume the decision space is easier to work with. Yeah, what's up, Cyber Benny? The checkerboard rule isn't actually helpful here, because if this is blue, that still works. These 5s don't need to connect to each other. The checkerboard rule only works when there is exactly 2 regions, and there are a lot more than 2 regions here. It's just that one of the regions snakes everywhere. So what is my next step from here? Where else are we going? Can this be a 5? Yes. Not that 5, but it could be that 5, or that 5, or that 5. It could be an F or a plus. If this is connected. There are exactly 2 regions, so a 3-dimensional checkerboard is appropriate. Ah! I forgot that we were playing Othello, and you could just stack the 5s up into the 2nd dimension, wherein all of the 5s are connected. 2nd dimension, 3rd dimension. You see, the puzzle is only solvable using a tesseract model, wherein all regions are connected via time. And as we all know, the time cube divides each day into 4 distinct regions. I don't actually remember enough time cube to be able to quote any of it. But this seemed like an appropriate place to try. Don't think the lower right cell can be anything but the 84. Why? I mean, I get, like, it can't connect to this 5. But it could totally be a 5 like that. I guess it actually can't, can it? That is a fair point. Huh? Does the rest of, I think it's the rest of this also has, like, similar problems in terms of whether or not it can be a 5 because of the way that the 84s over here close it in. Okay. You're right. I'm mostly not looking for help solving, though. Thank you. All good. All good. Is there any other way for it to connect? Like, if this is part of a 5, would have to come out to here. Can't go up. Has to come out to here. Can't go up because it blocks off. Would have to come out to here. So it'd have to be all the way across. This has to come out. This has to come out. This would have to fully block off. Yeah, then this would have to... Okay, yeah. I think that way also. Because this can't fully seal it off. Can we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or something like that? 2, 3... At this point, if there's a 5 here, it has to connect to this 5, or it has to fully seal off this 5. Because then the 84 has to get out. But if it connects this 5, it seals the 84 in also. So there's this, like, space by space. Can this be part of a thing? Can this not be part of a thing? Like, if this is a 5 now, 84 has to crawl around it. Which leaves one of these sealed off, so no. Can this be a 5? Then this has to come up through here? Like, no? Okay. And then there's a lot more freedom here now that we're just down to this piece. This can do almost anything because the 84 is already connected out. And there could be a loose 5 here, potentially. How much of this game have you played, Rufus? Are you, like, most of the way through? Are you all the way through? Seen a bunch of it? Fair enough. Yeah, if I was moving faster, I'd feel a little bit better about people chiming in on stuff, just because I'd probably have that part solved by the time like I read chat. But yeah, on the harder puzzles, I am mostly looking to get it done on my own. because it takes so long to figure out where to start. I fully understand the impatience of, like, I see this thing, why can't the streamer see this thing? I have very much been there. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. There is also a general purpose spoiler chat in the Discord if you want to commiserate with other people who see the thing and are also yelling at their screens, wondering why I don't see the thing. For a while, Twitch actually had the ability to give you separate chat rooms for a given stream. And that was actually really, really cool. That was a neat feature that they had. So I could set up like a spoiler chat within Twitch chat. And then people could yell to their heart's content in that chat. And that was a little bit more seamless. But Twitch, in their infinite wisdom, decided that that was not a feature they wanted to keep using. I really do just have to be like, okay, can this space be a 5? Yes, no. Can this space be a 5? Yes, no. Yeah, I'm not seeing any, like, any good break-in points on, like, because I know, like, both of these, for example, can't be 5s, right? You can't have a 5 that is 6. But for any given pair, all the way up through here, any one of them could be a 5, while the others are 84s, right? Like, this one space, for example, could be a 5, while the 84s come in through the other side. Actually, that still doesn't work. Because if this is a 5, and then this is blue and this is blue, that needs to connect there. The blue needs to come out there. The blue needs to come out there. This would need to come out like that. Wait, does this actually work? This might work. And then this could do that. Or that. Well, I mean, if this comes down there, now this is... This has to do this. But this is like a very specific, absolutely no reason to guess that it is exactly this particular layout at the start. Other than I don't know what else to do. Given this, this would need to be this. And now I'm once again in a situation where, like, okay, this looks valid for now. Do we just guess at another random thing? Like, this is a lot of hypothetical to play out for one random cell being whatever it is. Can I do the same thing the other way around? Like, if this is blue, then this has to connect up that way. Now this can't be orange. Yeah, I don't want to spend like 10 minutes on a single hypothetical only to find out that it's wrong like 87 steps further down. This would have to do that. And then come out that way. Okay, this doesn't work. This, like, actually doesn't work. Which means this space does have to be exactly orange. Oh my god, it was right. It was right from the beginning. Horrifying. My extremely red... That is entirely too real. Once again, the correct way to puzzle solve is just be right. Just be correct from the start, and then it's no problem. If all your guesses are correct, then puzzle solving is easy. Being correct from the start is an advanced technique. Sure. Let me tell you, though, being right, hell of a high. This cannot connect that way. Can this do anything else? Was obvious to chat for a long time. Oh, good. Well, I'm glad all of chat is geniuses. That's fitting. That seems appropriate, all things considered. This has to come up here. So if this doesn't connect to this 5, then it goes up and then has to go up again, which breaks mismatch. So it has to connect to this 5, and it can't do it that way because that breaks mismatch. So it has to do this. All right. Great. Good start. So now we can do the same thing over here, right? We can just guess and find out that I'm correct all the time, purely by accident. Like, if this is blue, does that break everything? This now can't be blue. Or can't be orange, rather. This also can't be orange. This now can't go left, so it has to go down. It's not guessing if you call it bifurcation. That's true. That's true. All you have to do is frame it correctly, and then it's not guessing. It's, proof by contradiction. Like, this seems fine. It doesn't seem to be anything wrong with what I just did. Which makes me wonder, if I do this, is that gonna break? Because if that breaks, that's great, actually. That means this would have to be blue. Like that color better. I don't have any reason to assume this works one way or the other. Proof by exhaustion? I believe that too. Because if I look at what is it? Any pair here. Here, here, here. Here even. No. Here it does work, actually. But any pair where it connects the two diagonals, right? One of these two has to be blue. One of these two has to be blue. One of these two has to be blue. Which means we can have at most one orange in these 4 spaces. But it could be any of these 4. Any of these 4 could be orange. One of these 2 actually must be orange, given this setup. Can they both be orange? No. One of these 2 must be orange, which I think means all of the surrounding cells must be blue? No, these 2 have to be blue. One of these 2 has to be orange. Because of this 5. And only one of these 4 can be orange. So yeah, these 2 have to be blue. And it's not clear whether or not they connect together this way, whether they go down or up. But this is accurate, which means the same thing has to happen here, right? One of these 2 has to be orange. But one has to be orange and the other has to be blue here. which means this is either connecting there or connecting there. What can I do with that? The same thing here. One of these two has to be orange. Can they both be orange? No, because that breaks mismatch. So one of these two is orange, the other is blue. So there's like a parity here. And a parity here. 1 and 1, we don't know which. Parity is maybe the wrong word. But some indicator that one of these is orange, the other is blue. One of these is orange, the other is blue. And then does that guarantee anything about the other space? Like, if this is blue, this has to be blue, right? Because the blue has to get out and join the rest of the blue. But if this is orange, this doesn't have to be blue. This could be the plus. And I guess that would result in something like this. Which seems legal so far. That looks absolutely incorrect. Quite possibly. This seems legal so far, and there doesn't seem to be any obvious forced moves from this location. Whoa. No. If this seals up, then the blue has to connect through here. Because with this setup, if this is orange, then the blue has to connect through here. And these can't both be blue. Here. I'm going to mark this differently. Between these... Oh, boy. Between these two, there's an orange and a blue. Between these two, there's an orange and a blue. And between these two, there's an orange and a blue. All right, so now going back to my original train of thought. If this is blocked, then the 84 needs to connect through here. And we can't have that happening. So this needs to be blue. And I think that means that the 84 needs to connect through here. I think that is what that means. I just assume, especially from Cyber Benny, that everything he says is BS. I think, like, Cyber Benny and Chronometrics are both people that I have learned to never take seriously. just because we have that kind of history. All right, so what does this mean now? If I have done this, it needs to connect also through here. Like that. Which means this needs to connect up at least that far. If one of these is guaranteed orange, then this has to come down here. If this is blue, this has to come down. If this is blue, it still has to come down. Which means this has to come down to here. Okay. This is good progress. Slow progress, but progress nonetheless. The greater 84 is only 28 right now, so still a lot more to cover, obviously. I guess this now has the situation of how it fills out the rest of it, right? Because it could be a long I. It could be a long L. It cannot be the lowercase t. It cannot be the elbow. So either we have long I, and then either up or down again, or we have the L going out through here. No, I don't think I have specifics there yet. Oh yeah, there's plenty of ways to both interact and make my life miserable without without giving me hints. I agree with that statement. That is the direction you have decided you needed your chat interaction to go. Plenty of ways to make that happen. All right, what about here? Because these 84s need to get across this gap somehow. But there's also plenty of room for this to be a shape. I don't know. Honestly, Kellerman, I'm not sure that everybody can match your Chaos Gremlin energy, you know? There's certain things that some people are better suited to than others. Can I do anything else down here? Can I be like that? Is that... Do I have a guarantee one way or the other that this works in a particular way, given this opening? Given how other ways in which this separates? I don't think I have any other positions of like, between these two spaces there needs to be exactly one blue, one orange. Still stuck on this. This feels like there is something here that I can use. Because regardless, this can't connect through here. So it needs to connect down here somehow. Drop a hint about spaz every 6 months. I want you to know, Cyber Benny, that it is still on my radar. Every once in a while I think about it. I haven't done anything about it yet. Which, I mean, that's standard for me. But I am still thinking about it. How How open does this remaining space have to be here? Like, do I have to build in enough room for a separate 5 here and up here in order to make enough room for all 5 pentominos? Even though there's no 5 marked on the map? I might have to. Like, there's a lot of free space here. I feel like there's a similar amount of free space up here. Like, I'm gonna have to, you know, leave room for, like, some garbage up here. What about here? What does this mean for me? In this case, this can't extend down this direction. It would have to go up, which means, again, it takes this shape. So it has to go the other direction. It has to do this. Cannot go right, so that has to be a blue. This clearly has to connect with this 5 in some way. This might be the bucket. This feels bucket adjacent. Bucket-esque. So this is either the plus or the F. I guess this could be this thing also. If this is orange, this has to be blue, because otherwise this overextends. And this has to be orange, which means we break mismatch. So this has to be blue here in the center. Which means that does that, and that does that, and this comes up. And I draw walls when I don't know what else to do. But the blue is here now, which means these two can probably connect. How many shapes does this look like I have on the board? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12? Is that actually all of the shapes? If that's all of the shapes, then this can't go this way, it has to go down. Which means this can't do this, has to be the long eye. This can still be either the plus or the F. If this is orange, what happens? It connects to here and seals things off, so that's not going to work. It goes up. It overextends. It's not okay. Great. If this is the eye, then what is this? It can't be long L. It could be one of a number of things. It can't get to here. If it got to here, it would be lowercase t or long L, both of which are not okay. Oh, it's probably the uppercase T. It's probably this. All right. I have the vibe. We'll see if the vibe is correct. This is probably this. And this is probably this. Just, you know, for the sake of argument. Which means this goes here. What's left? This would have to be the plus, because there's no room for a plus anywhere else. This can be the F. This can be long Z. And now there is one more shape. What is the one more shape? Bucket. Does that work? I think this works. $83. Oh, right. Hey, it was correct. I love it when things are correct. Yeah, this like giant patch of blue up here still somewhat offends my sensibilities, but I mean, it's a 12 by 12 puzzle. What are you gonna do? Cool, good progress. 6 more left, including the jerk meme puzzle. Let's take a look at some terrible compasses, I guess. I guess we can take a look at terrible compasses. Precision 5 with compass is interesting. 4 means it can't go any of the other directions. Mingle shape, compass, polyomino, notably not solitude. Would like to bring that to everybody's attention. So this could easily be that. Hang on. Sorry, real quick. It's probably not. Yeah. It's probably not. But it could be. It could be. Hang on. Work text. Okay. Cool. Resolved. Easy. I'm just saying it's not illegal. The compasses can't talk to each other. All the compasses need to... Is that true? Hold on. Can these two... No, because then it needs another 2. Okay. Yeah, none of the compasses can talk to each other. But the polyominoes can connect with the compasses if necessary. This one, hang on. This one is interesting because it can't connect to the 4, but the only other location for it is here. So I guess that's a good place to start. Mingle shape. Also a mingle shape. Get mingled. Can this take the bucket? No. No, it cannot. This could take the Z. That's pretty easy. This is a fascinating location for this, though. How does this fit here? I guess it's either like that or like that. Or it could be that and then up or down. Because it can't go right or up or anything. So it has to take, I think it has to take exactly these three at minimum. And then it goes, it can go right and down. It can go left and then up or down here. Or it can go right and then up or down here. Although this needs one to the right, so it has to go there, which means this can't go down to that one. A little bit more limited. You can take exactly 2 to the left, which means you need 3 more that is not to the left. No, you need 2 more that's not to the left. I know how math works. Which could be that, and that, or that. I guess necessarily includes that. Which means this cannot be up or down here. At all. It can be up or down here. Or it could be down here. So that still leaves a lot of room here. I guess between these two, they need to belong to a shape still. So if this does this, for example, this needs to belong to that, which it can't. Yeah, this needs to do that, so that this can grab that, and then go out here, and then grab one more later. This needs to happen, which means this needs to happen. This cannot go down because mingle shape. This looks suspiciously like progress. I'm still on this 3. Being this shape. It's not a guarantee. It's still not a guarantee. Like, we could do that. Well, we can't do that, but... we could do that. Can't do that either. Because 3 of these need to belong to the pink. Not that we know which 3. Hold. If this goes left, that seals off the 4. If this goes down, that's not going to work. If this... how else can this be here without being part of either compass? Two. Yeah, there's no other place, there's no other way this can fit without connecting to a compass. And if it connects to 4, now the 3 is unresolvable. So it has to be part of the 3. In what way is it part of the 3? Does that mean that this is required? I think that means that this is required. I mean, I guess it could be this and then some other stuff? No, because it needs 3 to the right. So yeah, this is required. There's no way for that to connect. So it does, in fact, need to be exactly this. Okay. The 4 cannot leave either of these, so it has to do that. And now we can play the rest of the puzzle. What is my next connection? What is the next concern? Maybe? No. Maybe? No. This definitely not. This... I think that leaves this screwed, because this still needs 1, 2. 1, 2. Yeah, that doesn't work. So the vertical for this T-bar can't be here. Can the vertical be here? No. No. Great. Can the vertical be here? No. Can the vertical be here? No. What does that mean for me? That means the cap, I'm gonna call this the cap of the T, needs to be top or bottom, because the cap of the T can't be on either side. Yeah, that is all of the possible situations. I don't see a problem with that. I do see a problem with that. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. But there's still a lot of freedom here. This could go in one of a variety of ways. There are a variety of ways in which this could go. What about with this 2? Does that tell me anything? Or this 1? This needs 1 to the left. And it's got to be this one, or this one, or this one. There's still a lot of freedom there. There's a lot of freedom for most of these things. All right, what are you doing? 3 more anywhere. Are you part of the wave? Nope. You are not part of the wave. Oh, yeah. Get mingled, idiots. There's gotta be another good starting point here. Who said that doesn't work? That doesn't work. That doesn't work. This might work. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. Is this literally the only shape that can work? It's so innocuous, but everything else causes problems. Like, that's not gonna fly. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. Yeah, I think this is the only position for this T that is legal. That takes that. It's not okay. So it's got to do this. Oh, disaster. Wait, maybe this also doesn't work because of that. In which case, what position did I neglect? Nope. Nope. And this also doesn't work? Terrifying. Does nothing work? Am I wrong? Did we screw something up? I may have messed this up. But I don't think so. I think I was pretty exhaustive about that. Alright, what about... Okay, so the crossbar can't be on the top or bottom? No. 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 Oh. Okay, okay. Stupid compass. This needs one more here. This needs 3 more here. So collectively, these two... Hang on. $12. 1, 2, 3, 4, something else. But these two need to be connected, regardless of what this does. Is that true? Yes. Yes, that is true. Because if this does, like, this or something, these two and then one more out here. And there was probably some mingle shape shenanigans. So one of these two is red. What does that mean for Bucket? Because now Bucket can't do this. Nope, that doesn't work. 7 still doesn't work. All right, so it can't be these 6. Can't be these 6. Can't be these 6. Can't be these 6. Or these, or these, or these. So that leaves exactly this. All right. You've convinced me. I'm sold. This cannot take this. So that has to do that. We haven't figured this interior out, but it must be resolved in a particular way, I am sure. This can't take this 5. So it can't be down and across. If this goes across, that doesn't work. So this has to go down, so this has to go up. Progress! Looking good, looking good. Good job. Go team. Now what? This takes exactly one of these two, and then has to go up for the rest of it. So it has to do that, and then take exactly one of these two. Or this one, for that matter. Could take exactly that one. Oh, no it can't! Ah, figured it out. This takes 3 to the left and 1 not to the left. So the 1 not to the left has to be exactly that. What is happening over here? No. Concerning. How do you fit? Because this is looking like it doesn't fit at all. Worried. Very worried. Can it do this? Oh, and then this takes that. And then this does this. Oh my god. Okay. Worries abated. Everything is fine. Everything is fine and nothing is a problem. Yikes. that was some big yikes. That was a very yikes-coded solution. Alright, we're getting closer and closer to needing to take on the meme puzzle, which I am unhappy about. But there's still 1, 2, 3 other puzzles to go to first. And then we'll have to do meme puzzle, and then I want to do this one last. So let's take on some 7s, why not? Ain't got nowhere else to be. Precision 5 mingle shape. Alright, well this doesn't go there. This doesn't go there. This doesn't go there. And this doesn't go there. So that's great. I don't think I like this puzzle. If this takes this, what happens? Now, in addition to needing 3 to the right, it also needs 3 down. It needs 2 more to the right. And 3 more down. Which this could be one of the 3 down. Yeah, no. Okay, so these can't touch either. And their precision, which means it needs to come up here and then go right. So these need to do this. And then find 2 more in this space. This needs to find 2 more out here. This needs to find... Oh, this needs to go exactly there. How about this? It certainly can't all be one thing. But, like, can it do that? I think also this can't touch. And then for this to get its to the right, it needs to go around. It gets 1 more there, and then it takes 1 of these 2. But this, like, it doesn't need to go there necessarily. It could go out like that, for example. I think they do need to go out exactly the 1, though. At least. Could be more than 1. Well, this one can't. I mean, it can, I guess. Could do that. And then, so this grabs... Oh, mingle shape! Oh, we're mingling some shapes, are we? Well, that's good to know. That's thrilling. The shapes, they are a mingle. Ready to mingle? Oh, yeah. They are single shapes, ready to mingle shapes. So this needs 1 of these 3. Means it needs to go out at least there. This needs exactly this. This, I think, much like this, needs exactly that. No. Any of these 3 would work. This needs 1 down. This needs exactly that. And then no more. It can't take this one, because that would require doing this, which breaks mingle shape. So it's either this one or this one. Several different shapes potentially capable of stealing cells out of this corner. But there seems like needs to be another 5 down here. In some orientation. Whatever, we'll figure it out. And then there's 5 left. This needs 2, this needs 3, this needs 2. Some can be taken elsewhere. This actually can't go down to this, can it? Because it needs to be able to take 3 here. This can't go left. This can't go up. Reading the rules explains the rules, if only. If only it were that easy. Unfortunately, reading the rules gives you just enough information to get yourself into trouble. Of course, that trouble could have been avoided with a more thorough reading of the rules. I guess the problem is not reading the rules. The problem is skimming the rules. If you start with reading the rules, then it makes the game too easy. And the game is a lot easier if you read none of the rules, and then you just make up your own rules. You just go, the rules don't apply to me, I'm finger painting. You could do whatever you want. Make a beautiful tapestry of red and purple, as long as I don't mind a bunch of red all over these boxes too. I'm an artist! Prestige mode is that it only tells you the number of rules. You have to deduce what those rules are. Ooh, don't like that. Don't like that. There could very well be fog-style puzzles where you have to solve parts of the puzzle before it reveals additional parts or additional rules. And I think that's pretty cool. I've seen people do that with variant Sudoku a bunch, and that's a lot of fun. Including some rules that require an amount of deduction. You've seen a Sudoku like that? I have seen many a Sudoku like that. I have been spending a lot of my time on Sudokus like that. Yeah, Sudokuvania is fantastic, if very difficult. Super Sudokoid, very good. Super Sudokoid Dark Inversion, also quite good. And much harder. Much harder. I've been spending some time on Cracking the Cryptic's website because they also have a large array of suggested puzzles with various kinds of mechanics. Like, you can sort by, oh, I want to play puzzles with thermometers, or I want to play puzzles with fog, or I want to play puzzles with Renban lines, or whatever it is whatever particular mechanic it is you're looking for. And they've got puzzles sorted in that way, which is really nice. Where are we going from here? Somewhere here, there must be a correct next step. This needs 2 more. Could be these 2. Could be these 2. Cannot be those 2. So it needs to be at least this. Could be this, or it could be this. But if it can't be those 2, which it can't, then it does need to be at least this. So that means this needs to go down here exactly, which means this needs to come out like that. Now, this cannot take this. This is resolved. There is 6 left here, so this does need to be taken by that, and then this can fill in. I was right. I was right about that. That's great. This cannot be left untaken, so it must be taken. Which means this has to come up to here and take either this or take that. You need 2 more. Can be those. Can be those. Cannot be those 2. So it requires at least that. Maybe that, maybe that. Okay, good. Good, good, good. Yeah, walls, right. Of course, I know how walls work. This doesn't work because that. This doesn't work. This can still be real, but only if it's like this. Which means this has to be the base, and then either one of these 2. This needs 2 left, which means this has to be one of them. Because either it takes both of these 2, or it takes both of these 2. But either way, it's taking this one. If this takes this now, this is trapped? Yeah, so this has to take that. Which is worrisome because of this. This needs to either go there or there. This location, 10 left. This needs 1, so 9. This needs 3, so 6. So 1 more needs to be taken by one of these. So either that takes this or this takes this. But this can't take more than 1 here. Oh, in general, this can't take more than 1 here because it needs to take the other one here. But this is taken by one of these 2 for sure. Right? Because then this doesn't work, right? 3, so this needs 2 more. 4, this needs 1 more. And that's 9, which totals not a multiple of 5. So this has to come out to there, which means it has to take these 2, which means it has to do that, which means this is... Hello? There it is. I figured out which button did the thing. What's up, Ender? How's it going? Can this do that? So far. Oh, sure. Agreed. Agreed about compass. What can you not do in this situation? Both of those seem valid. I guess if I do this, this is the one that feels the least likely to be valid, actually. Oh. Well, regardless of what I'm doing up here, this has to come to here. $14. This needs 3 down to 11. This needs 3 down to 8. So between this and this, 3 more need to be taken. Okay. Okay, sure. Yeah, great. Love it. Wonderful. This needs to take exactly one of these 3. Unclear which one. Figure that out later, I guess. This still needs to belong... This takes one of these 2 and one of these 2. Troubling. So this takes the other? Not necessarily. If this goes here, this could grab this, and then this could go up this way. But if this goes left, this definitely has to go right. And then these 2 take the remaining here. So then this has to go up. And this cannot long Z, so it has to go that way and that way. And now this can't F, so it has to go that way. Which means that takes this. Again, assuming my starting assumption here is correct, but, like, I have the vibe. You know, I have the read. No, all of this looks right, and I'm down to guessing again. Because, like, this could still just take this one, right? And then either of these two take whichever one they take. And then something else happens up here in some particular way. I guess I should figure out what way in which things are happening. Probably. Like, we might be able to figure out this bottom here. Dependent on how these... I guess figuring out the bottom here is dependent on how the shapes up here line up. Because of the mingles? Like, this can't do any of these, is the thing. Oh, it can do this. Interesting. But it could even plus if it wanted to. There's a lot of options down here. Alright, what about up here? In what way are these particular puzzles restricted? Or shapes? This needs 2 more from this space. Which means it needs 1 more from either of these 2. One of those 2. Which means the upper space is really open. It could be any of these 5. Well, I guess it can't be these 2 exactly. Oh, this can't do that, so this has to do that. Well, that helps. So now we are... Can I avoid taking this spot? No, because then I would take this spot and this would be sealed off, so this has to be taken. Which means the only remaining spot upwards that it can take is that one. And then it takes one of these 2. The power of mingle shape. So what does that mean for the rest of this? Do we now have conclusive proof that this can or cannot do one of these things? This is going to dictate some things about this, I think. Because if this F's, then this has to Z. Right? Hang on. That doesn't work. If this goes down, then this has to take both of these spaces? No. Not only can it not, there's other options. Sure. Oh. Okay. And then... Am I really just vibe solving this? I think I'm just vibe solving this. I think this has to connect that way. So that forces this into the Talzi. So this has to go there. So this has to come out to here. And now this cannot T, nor can it capital T, because that seals off a space. Be pink again. So it has to take this one, which means this comes here and takes the plus. And then that's a problem. That's a problem. The vibes are in shambles. I am filled with regret. Is there any other way to make that connect down here? I don't think so. Alright, let's start this over from here and maybe think a little bit more about what we're committing ourselves to. Can this go all the way in? No. Yes. No. Because these two need to be taken by these two. I guess if that takes this and this takes this can't do that, right? Because of the compass. Yeah, so this can't go all the way in. It can go to this spot. But it doesn't need to, because this could take that, right? We could do this. This is once again in this same configuration here. But maybe this works out better because now this can make the F here. So same upper configuration. These two are in a slightly different position. And now this doesn't T. Instead it longsies or something? Yeah, alright. Compass fatigue? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to draw shapes until it works. I am confident enough about the rest of this that I am gonna put it together eventually. Yeah. I have to feel like there is a certain subsection of Twitch chatter that is going to be horrified by my puzzle solving process. In fact, at different stages of my puzzle solving progress, I may be able to collectively horrify every single Twitch chatter at some point. From the meticulous early on trying to like figure it out based on logical principles when people are like, you know what it's supposed to look like, just put the shape down. And then I get to the end and just start drawing shapes and people are like, think about what you're doing. Don't just vibe solve. Can't tell me what to do. This is my stream. I am the local god. If I want to vibe solve, then, you know, I have only myself to answer to. Alright. 2 more puzzles before we have to come to grips with the meme. And I completely forgot about a rule for 5 minutes at the start. Yes, that's true. That's happened multiple times now. I especially enjoyed the Rose Windows one, where I had a bunch of, like, theories about how stuff was going to connect, and then I realized that it was boxy. That was a lot of fun. This boy. Huh? Range 2 to 5. Okay. Okay. What does this mean? I think that means Yeah, and size separation, which is fascinating. So I think we start here. Because whatever this is, this goes up or down 1. This then goes up or down 1. And this then goes up or down 1. Which means that even if it's like 4, 3, 4, 3, whatever it's doing, there's a wall here. And range 2 means that has to connect that way. 1 and 2 here means there has to be a wall there. Can this be a 2? And then this would be a 4? And then this is a 3 or a 5? Can. But we have this as a guarantee, I think. This could actually be 1. Because both of these need to be 1 away from this. Yeah, this row of 1s here is off-putting. Can we do something similar over here? Like, the reason this works is because there's this, like, circle, right? 1, 1, 1, 1, which means there's a wall there. Oh, okay. That's helpful. And then it's the same thing, actually. It's the same offset. 1, 2 means there's a wall there. But this doesn't necessarily need to come out. This could be a 2. If this is a 2, both of these are 3s. Likewise here, if this is a 2, both of these are 3s. Which they can touch, they don't have to. But this could be a 3 and both of these could be 2s, or this could be a 3 and this could be a 2 and a 4. Cool, cool. Can this connect here? Or would that be illegal? Could maybe connect. Who knows? Anything is possible. Range 2 to 5. This and this could be the same. No guarantees. Oof. Alright, where do I go from here? This is a 2. Then necessarily, both of these are 3s, and this has to be a 5. Which doesn't work. This is fascinating. Because whatever this is, if it's 1 away from this, and this is 2 away from this can't be 2 away from this. This can't cross here. This has to be the 2. So this has to be a 4. So this is 3 or 5. And because range 2 to 5 means anything that's range 2 away is fixed. So if this is 3 to 5, this is also 3 or 5, but the other way. And then this is 2 or 4. Because that's the only other ranges. Which means this is 3 or 5. Which means this is 2 or 4. And because this is sealed here, that has to go up there. This might touch, right? Because this is also 3 or 5, but they could be the same 3 or 5. I might be able to also do the same here. No, because this doesn't have the wall there. So it doesn't restrict it in the same way. If this was sealed off here, then this would have to come up and that would be illegal, right? Because whatever this is, 2, 1, 2. This cannot be 2 away from this and additionally have that. That means that there is a wall here, regardless of where this is going. Or how big this is. Like, but this could be bigger now. This doesn't need to be a 2. This could be an anything. So what does that mean here? What direction does that take us? Either a 3 or a 5. If this is a 2 or a 4, this cannot go up to this spot. Because this has to be also a 2 or a 4, right? 2 opposite means the same opposite range. If this is a 4, this has to be a 2. If this is a 2, this has to be a 4. Which means this cannot cross here. So this has to be a 3, and this has to be a 5. Which actually doesn't change anything else, right? This is still 2 or 4. This is still 3 or 5. This is still 2 or 4. But this is now also 2 or 4 that is different from this 2 or 4. And it's not going through this 5. So this can't be a 4. This has to be a 2. Which means this has to be a 3. This has to be a 3. This has to be a 3. This has to be a 4 like this. Which means this is 3, 5, but it has to connect here. So it also has to be a 3. This is 3 or 5. So this is 2 or 4. So this is 3 or 5. So this is 3 or 5. And this is 2 or 4. This being 3 or 5 means it goes out to there. Neat. Ah, these 3s can't touch each other. Size separation. They have to be the same 3. Which means this is a 5. Which means this is sealed. Which means this is a 2. So both of these are 3s. And this is a 4. And this is a 5. And this is a 3. This is a 4. This is a 4. So this is a 2. So that's that and that. Cool. I like this one. This one's coming together. This one makes sense. This one doesn't have stupid compasses. Compasses and polyominoes are just so vibe-based. Like, I really have a hard time getting into compass and polyomino-based puzzles without just vibing. And this one makes a lot more sense to me in terms of keeping the logic discrete and not jumping to conclusions. Let's see, this is 3 to 5. This is 2 to 4. But because it's next to a 4, it has to be a 2 exactly. And if this is a 2, this has to be a 3. Which means these two have to be the same. Which means these don't connect. So that has to go to there. This has to come up to here, and then something else has to happen. It can't go right because that would seal this off, so it has to go up. And then something else happens here. This might go up there. It doesn't have to, though. These are both 4s they have to touch. Unclear if this is a 4 or a 2 at this point. Either is valid. I also like the way this broke down into pairs. Like, 2 and 4 are a pair, and 3 and 5 are a pair. So if you go across a 1, you switch from one pair to the other. And if you go across to 2, you switch to the other of the pair. That's pretty cool. Alright, if this does this, then this has to be a 3. Then this is a 2. Could be a 2 like this, and then this is a 4. And then this is a 2, which would make this a 4. That all works. Now we have to draw something here. So let's assume that these two don't connect. That this is part of this 4. So this goes either here or here. That means this can't go left, so it has to go down and that way. And then this is a 2. So then this has to go this way, because otherwise 2 2s are touching. That's a 2. Yeah. A little bit of like, oh, I feel like it has to go this way. All of this was based off of I wasn't sure which direction this 5 was going to go. But these two are both completely separate. So, and then this was based off of like, I think this is going to touch. I guess this could have been a 2. Oh, either way, if this is a 4 or a 2, this space can't be part of this 4. So this has to go around. And then I can figure out the rest from there. Oh, interesting. Okay. So another way to get to the same situation. Very cool. Polyominoes! More precision mingle shape. Ladies and gentlemen, the precision mingle shape has returned. And I think we start like this. This is real interesting with the pluses here. Because this is either this or this, right? But regardless, this is part of that shape. And this is part of that shape. And then this has a lot of freedom, right? Like this could go like this, or this, or this, or this. Or even just head off in the other direction. I don't know that it can head off in the other direction, actually. Like, that's not going to work, right? So it's got to be up against one of these corners. Right? It's got to be pushing one of these pluses in one direction or another. But it can't be pushing both. Because that would leave this unresolvable. So it's either fully in this direction or fully in this direction. And same with the other side. So the pluses and the waves kind of nest with each other. Oh, but this could actually connect to this wave. That makes things a little trickier. It's a little bit trickier. Alright, I think before I jump all the way into this puzzle, I'm going to take my usual stream break here. I've been going for almost 2.5 hours. I am out of water, and that seems like as good an excuse as any to take a quick break. So, doing that thing, puzzles wait for no man. I mean, they probably do. Puzzles don't really have agency. They kind of just sit around and wait to be solved. So, you know. All right, what was I doing? thinking about zigzags. Just thinking about zigzags. And the fact that these zigzags could potentially connect, even though this zigzag cannot. This, I think, already is illegal. Yeah, this zigzag needs to either be all the way down here or all the way on the other side. And that'll dictate where the pluses fit in. Because one of the pluses is going to block down here, and the other plus is going to block up here, or left and right. One of those two. Okay, that's good. I guess we'll figure out the rest later. Maybe I can determine some other things based on... Aha, here. This is a good place to start. Because this can't go across, right? So it has to go up. It has to be exactly this. Which means this is doing this. And then this, or could be across. Can't be across, precision 5. Could be across this way, though. Or this way. But definitely at least this much. Yeah, can't be that way. Can be this way. Can be this way. Regardless, that is sealed off. Do I have any other, like, really obvious precision points that I can connect to? Like, this is really convenient that it's, you know, this polyomino has to be exactly this shape in this location. What does that mean for this? Because this can't touch this. And it can't go up here. So this has to be exactly like that? Is there any other position for this to be in? I guess like that, maybe. But definitely to here. And then either it goes up or it goes down. Not quite the additional information I was looking for. I guess it depends on this, right? If this goes there, then this has to do this. It has to fill in that space. But if this comes down here, this could do either. Oh, no. It now has to do exactly that because it's bent by the plus. Okay. So it's dependent on this plus. That's fine. We can figure that out later also. I have that power. What about you? All right. Either this is the 1. If it's the 1, then it's going off like that, or it's going... Can't go that way. Off like that. Off like that is illegal, because this doesn't have enough room to be whatever it wants to be. Because it can't go up here through that spot. The puzzle of procrastination. There's so many parts that I'm like, you know what? I'll come back to that. We'll do that later. Not feeling it right now. So if this is the edge piece, the 1, then it has to be up this way. But if this is part of the 4, it can't be part of the 4, actually. It's stuck. So it has to be part of the 1. So then it has to be exactly that. Okay, great. If this does this, that seems legal. That seems legal. Yeah, seems fine. Either way. Okay. Not convinced. This can't do that, so it would have to do that. Can't touch there. That's not gonna fly. But we can do that. There's actually a lot that we could do here. This could do... No, can't do that. Because this is either this or this, but it's definitely this. And then either these 2 or these 2, or these 3, I guess. Because it could be up here and these. So this would have to be like that, I guess? No. It cannot. This cannot take both of these spots. It can take one of them, but not both. So where is your 3? All right, well, all of this is speculation anyway. But maybe this shows that this is impossible? Maybe this shows that this is not a valid solution? Like that? No, if it's going up like that, it has to go down like that, which seals off. If it's going like this, then it has to do that, which still seals off. This is now 4. That's not enough room. And it can't go 3 across like this, because that breaks the Z, the tall Z. That's not going to work. So this can't be the edge piece. Can it be the piece in the middle? No. And it can't be the other edge piece. because that would require that, which goes through here. So this doesn't work, actually. This is an invalid solution set, which means this does actually have to be this exactly. Ah, we learned something. Forward progress has been made. And now this is a bunch easier, because this could be like that or something. There's a lot of room for stuff to get resolved here in different ways, I think. Polyominoes. How dare they? Does this work? 10. Maybe. No. Because the only way this takes it up is if it leaves a shape that mingles. Or doesn't mingle. If the shape's not single, the shape can't mingle. That's not single, that's a double. Is there not any way to make this? Yeah, I don't think so, actually. So the crossbar can't be here. Crossbar can't be here. Can it be here? No. So this can't be the crossbar. It has to be the line. And then the crossbar could be here. Or the crossbar can be here. Crossbar can't be there either. So it's got to be exactly this. If you say so. All right, well, this can't allow the double whatever this is. Q? P? I'm gonna call it a Q. Which means I think it has to go like this. Which means this has to do that. I think this is the only way the space can be filled with mingle shape. This needs to take that space up one way or another. Which means this is the O. And then it either does one of these things. I can't do that, because then we have to do this. Can it do that? No. Because then these pluses are both down. So it has to be that. That's the only remaining way to do it. And then we're still in the same situation with the zigzag of zigzag goes down or zigzag goes up. QPDB, as if it were some new database software. Yep. Yeah, that's how I read it also. QPDB. All right, well, this has given us some additional information. And now we need to somehow parlay this into a solution for the rest of the puzzle. Good luck. So both of these still work? Now this. Oh. If this, what do I do here? this, I suppose? You see the owl's face. That reads kind of like, I see the face of God. That's a lot. That is a hell of a sentence. This does work, though. What if I am required to do this, though? Oh, this doesn't work, because now this is stuck here. So we do have to go the other direction. That can't go all the way there. Yeah, it has to go that way. So this fills this. This comes out here, and then more work is necessary. Inputs working solution undoes. Listen, you of all people should know how untrustworthy code that runs on the first time is. Alright? If I put together a solution that looks like it works, something is wrong. Or on the first time, anyway. I have to do some verification there before I can trust. That comes out. That comes out. And this has a lot of opportunity. You may not trust it, but until it breaks, it ships. That is fair. That is also fair. So this either goes down here or goes up here. One of the two. Oh, if it goes up here, mingle shape breaks. Okay, so it has to go down here. Learning all kinds of stuff. This is working out well. This is working out real well. Let's look at all the stuff we're learning. Look at all the learning that's happening. This can't connect across here. So this can't be part of the 4. Up or down, up or down. It leaves some empty stuff unfilled. So this has to be the edge piece. So this could either be a 4 like this, which kind of breaks things, or it could be a 4 here, which does not break things, or here, which does break things. So it has to be exactly this. Where are you going? You're going out to here. Can't go down. Gotta go up. You're going out to here. That's 3. So you're going up to here. Can't go right, gotta go left. You can't go up there. Ah, this is all coming together. Wild. That feels correct. This does that, this does that. And there we go. Behold, the face of the owl. Voila, an aigrette. I don't know why that tickled me, but that tickles me. That is amusing. All right, 2 left, which is the disaster and then the one under the arch. Can we do this? Can this work? There's got to be a solution here. The problem is figuring out where it is. So let's start with, can this work? If this line is here, this cannot brick. This cannot brick. So all of this needs to be connected. this can go all the way around. Yeah, I know. It is in fact that puzzle, Cryptomancer. We're back at it. It's the only one left. It's the next one in line. It's not the only one left, but it is the next one in line. Because I am saving the one under the archway near the window for last. Which I haven't even looked at yet, but I am keeping that one near the window for last. So if we do this, the next question is, how does the rest of this connect? One of these is 6, the other is the other number. Like, I feel like there is some sort of axiom that I can draw, some sort of like heuristic that I can use to dictate what can and cannot be done around these shapes, right? Like, how much of this space needs to be covered, whether or not I can draw walls like this. Between Bricky and size separation, not size separation so much, but like the fact that Bricky exists means that walls cannot exist in certain configurations. And then I am looking to draw a conclusion from that rather than just leave it at these walls cannot exist in certain configurations, right? So what does this mean in terms of what can and cannot be a legal arrangement of shapes? Because any not legal arrangement of shapes is information that I can use. 6s and 7s are the worst, though. They're so big. And I still don't exactly have Bricky internalized to the point where I can sort of see the shapes that they need to use. If I draw this line, what happens? This comes out that way, and this needs to be a separate thing. Like, can't do that. But I can draw one of these. And at each point, it's like, okay, if this, then that, right? But I can't do that like 7, 8 times. I can't do that for the entire puzzle. I mean, I guess I could. It would just not be fun. So I am trying to determine more general rules in terms of what can and cannot be placed on the board in particular ways. Like, size separation actually means loopy. So Bricky and loopy are kind of the same. Or size separation and loopy are almost the same rule here. Because there's only 2 sizes. Right? Like, if I end up in this situation, if I end up in this situation, these two have to be different, which means this can't exist as a third thing and must belong to one of them. Right? So this situation, right? This has to be taken by either purple or red. It can't be a third thing. So those third things have to always be one of those loose 1x1s or that jagged edge. That doesn't mean that every one by one, every corner has to exist in that particular way. Because the other thing that I can do... No, I can't brick. I was going to say I could do this, right? And then have like a 6 here and a 6 here and a 7 here. But that doesn't work because I can't brick either. So I think every corner needs to either be fully one thing or two separate different things. Is that enough for me to determine anything about how, like, is that enough for me to determine the start of any regions? Like, if I have to do this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least. And this can't wall off like that. Because this can't be, yeah, this can't wall off like that, and it can't wall off like that. So, one of these two has to continue to the next space. And if it's this one, this can't be, like... Like, there is a vague shape in my head of what the rule looks like in practice. Like, how you condense this into the ways that the shapes need to interact with each other. And it's not quite coming together into something concrete. Into something that I feel like I can apply widely enough that I can dictate, oh, these shapes can't be in this particular configuration. This can take potentially one more. But if this red goes this way... Well, if this purple goes this way, this needs to be purple or red. And because the purple's a 7, it needs to be red. And then this can't brick, so the red needs to continue. And now the red's a 6. This is, again, assuming both this line and this line. That's what I've done here. All of this is based on this line and this line. And then also, like, this continuation. Like, this could be just red here, right? This could be a 6. Oh, but then this is illegal. And red's not big enough to make it all the way through. So this situation here... Why did this come up? Like, I know why this happened. Because this can't be a third thing. So this either needs to be the red or the purple. Oh, but I guess it could just do this. Oh, no, it can't. Because brick, that bricks. Ugh. Man. Yeah, this is so hard to put together. At each step, it's like, okay, how does this fit into this kind of heuristic that I'm trying to develop? And then most likely, what I'm doing here isn't a legal setup at all, because one of these prior assumptions is wrong and I don't know which one. So like, this is such a disaster. Like, can I start like this? Can this be a second thing? Sure. Can this be a second thing? Sure. Also, they could cross. It's like, I feel like I have to go, you know, 3 or 4 deep into hypotheticals before I find anything that's like, yes, this is a contradiction, or this must be arranged in this particular way. This puzzle is a problem. Like, this kind of works. No, this is bricked. Because this is a 6, so both of these need to be 7s. So this needs to be like this. And now this is bricked. So it needs to be like this. Except now this needs to be neither a 6 nor a 7. So, like, I think this means that these straight lines are concerning. Like, if a straight line is above a certain length, then it just doesn't work. Or it needs to be covered all by one region. Yeah, any straight edge needs to be covered all by one region. Because I can't loop it or brick it. Which means I guess I need to avoid straight lines? I guess there can be some. But like, this can't brick, so it has to take that. This can't brick, so it also has to take that. Like, what about this, right? That would be illegal. Can this be a wall? I mean, that can't happen. And that can't happen. And that can't happen. What does that mean? For any given collection of 4 squares, I can't loop, and I can't brick. Which means that anything that's not touching one of these walls is essentially Watchtower 2. Or I could have no walls, right? And just have it be all one. But, like, for these 4, it can either be 1 region or 2 regions, but it can't be 3 or 4 regions. Because 3 regions pseudo breaks size separation, breaks the pseudo loopy. Does that mean that it needs to be a 1? If I'm looking at these regions that are in the center away from everything else? I don't think so. Because I think this causes separate problems if it's all one thing. Because, like, if that... Right? We go across there. And then this needs to take that. But, like, I can't line here. So one of these 2 needs to take this. And same here. One of these 2 needs to take this. And this cannot loop and cannot brick. Oh, this is so dangerous. I can see a lot of things that it can't do, and I don't know how to turn that into any information that I can put down on the board to restrict the location of a given region generally. I can restrict the interactions between the regions, but I don't know where that means, what that means in terms of a region has to be in this location. I have a bunch of can'ts and no cans. Well, this puzzle is such a hassle. Like, it feels like this has to be illegal. But I'm trying to play out how to consistently, how to prove that, basically. Because it has to start like this. This can loop this way. Right? This can break the pseudo loopy because it has a corner. Yep. Everything in this region is either a 6 or a 7. That is correct. This is, in theory, difficulty 6. But I absolutely hate the premise of this puzzle. Because I really don't know where to start this. You have some memories of this puzzle? Yeah. I think every time this puzzle has been on screen, somebody's been like, oh, I remember this puzzle. Like, it almost feels like there has to be separations here because there are so few other places that there can be separations. But again, I don't know how to prove that. This is funny, because that also doesn't work. Not sure you can really tell the difference between difficulty 7 and 6. Seems pretty random given how any given puzzle lands. Yeah, there's definitely some puzzles that's like, on a personal level, can feel harder or easier than some sort of arbitrary difficulty rating. I know a lot of that for me is like some of the mechanics make sense to me, and some of the mechanics don't exactly. Like, they don't come together in a kind of puzzle solution, in a puzzle solving path that is intuitive to me. Whereas others are like, okay, I understand with these mechanics. Once I find a place where I can start working on it, it'll all flow together because I know what the connections between the rules are or whatever. Whereas this, like, I'm trying to piece it together and none of it comes together into something that I can actually place onto the board. I think it's interesting how the red lines look different depending on the color underneath it. Yep, compasses are a real hard one for me too. Very difficult for me to grok kind of how they affect the shapes of things on the board. So what I'm trying to identify, I think the first thing to identify for me is things that I believe to be wrong. And then assuming they're true and following them through to a contradiction. And I am assuming that they're wrong based off of the amount of difficulty that regions have connecting with each other. There's only so many different ways that regions can connect with each other given this rule set. Right? Any given corner has to either be fully surrounded Yeah, any given corner has to be fully surrounded. Because I can't do this. And I definitely can't do that. So what does this mean in terms of places that I can put corners? Like, what does this mean in terms of ways that regions can propagate, I guess? Because if we do this, and then I have, like, this stays a corner, right? Like, there's a certain amount of this has to progress in particular ways. Now this has to go here because I can't brick. Like, if this is an edge here, this has to... Ugh. Alright, so working back from here... In this situation, if this is a wall, either that goes there or that goes there. It can't be a third thing. Same here. Is this a problem? I can't brick here. So either this goes around there or both of these connect. Like, there has to be a connection here or here going around this corner. Oh, this is just so hard to get started because I don't want to commit to a large chain of hypotheticals and I don't know how else to start it. Like, if I assume that these are two separate regions, then this has to go there, or this has to go there. But it doesn't need to be two separate regions. It could all be one region around this corner. That also works. Say commit to filling in from the top left. I guess that's furthest away from any of the boxes. So that maybe gives you some amount of information in terms of where things... Because the boxes really break up the flow of the way that these rules interact with each other. So that does make some amount of sense. Start with trying to fill in regions in an area where you know how the edges are going to have to interact. I think I'm more trying to figure out how the boxes restrict the regions. Like, that feels like how I want to start this, right? So looking at this, if this were a wall here, that means this comes out this way, and they can't brick up here, so this has to be 3 across. And then this now has to be that, or that, or that. Anything. This could be anything, is what I'm saying. Any of those spaces that are greater than 13, how the heck do you have any T corner without 6s touching 6s and 7s touching 7s? Yeah, because, like, this corner, if it's corners like this, has to be surrounded on all sides by something. It cannot loop, and it cannot brick. So if there's a corner, it has to be surrounded on all sides. Like, can this be a corner? Maybe. Then I could do this. This can't close off, so this has to be up to that. This can't be a third thing, but this could come up and be a 7. Well, let's say this is a 6 in this corner, right? So now this has to come out here and surround it. And then this now needs to be a 7 somehow. Maybe that. But then all of these corners need to be 6s, surrounded by 6s. Right? And this is broken. This breaks loopy. Hey, Chronometrics. Everything is a problem. How you doing? Like, it feels like any additional shape has to fully encapsulate the previous shape unless it's broken up by these edges, by these blocks. And this doesn't work. Are you a problem? Everything besides you is a problem. You are a delight. He will not look beside you then. Good, yeah. Just don't look at the problem. I'm sure it'll go away in time. Don't be part of the problem, be the whole problem. Yeah, right? Why half-ass it? Just commit. I think it has to use... It has to use a corner somehow. This can't work, though. This is a 7, and this is a 7. That has to go through here. This is a 6. This is a 7. Oh, these can touch. Now, this allows me to put 2 6s here with a 7 in between them. But I can't brick here. Ah. But yeah, it's still just all vibes all the way down. And I think there might be still more progress than starting in the middle. Yeah, that's true. Before it just broke. Like, it was still... breaking was inevitable. The question is how to work around that. Like, once the flow of it breaks, how do you repair it? How do you massage it so that it fits in a way that can still move forward? The fact that I can put more down before it breaks actually tells me that this is a worse starting spot. Because the sooner it breaks, the sooner I know I have to adjust something. What is the average for 97? If I am using only 6s and 7s, how many of each can I fit into this range? I guess if it's 1 7 and then the rest 6s, but like that obviously won't work. Can split 42 of them in 2 ways. Yeah, 42 is either 6 7s or 7 6s. I'm aware that it has size separation as a rule, which is why I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, if I cut it exactly down the middle, how many is that? Is it literally an even number of 6s and 7s to make 97? $42 and 42 is 84. Leaving 13, which is another 6 and another 7. Yeah. 1 6, 1 7, and then 2 blocks of 42. Yep. So 7 6s and no, 8 6s and 7 7s. 8 6s is 48. 7 7s is 49. Yeah, that works. More 6s than 7s makes sense. Yep, for sure. This makes as much sense as anything else. I don't know that that helps me. This knowledge of how my doom is shaped. And then I guess I could pull 6 7s and turn that into 7 6s. But, like, that is an unreasonable number of 6s and also an unreasonable number of 7s. Can help me with some of yesterday's butterscotch salted caramel cookies. Those sound delicious, Chronometrics. Merely knowing those cookies exist has brought up my mood. So yes, I consider myself helped in this situation. You are a delight, Chrono. Happy to have that confirmed. So, can I use the information that I have somewhat gleaned about how these rule sets interact to determine what can't be done in a way that gives me information about what must be done? Like, if this is a corner, for example, I don't even know if that's a good idea. Like, Are there walls that I can put down, or places where I know that regions have to intersect? I feel like with 6 and 7 as the region size, it's so big that almost anything can go anywhere. Can we start like this? No, because that bricks. So this can't be 3 separate regions. It can be 2 or 1 region. This could be 2 or 1, but it can't be 3. And that is the case for every corner. What does that mean? Can I use that to determine how many of them need to be 2s or 1s based on the number of regions I have access to? Is that helpful? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 4 is 24 corners. (25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31 corners. And each of those corners must be 1 or 2 regions? The majority of them must be 1s, because we only have room for 15 regions. In fact, several corners must be a single region across several corners. Something like that, for example. This can't corner off. So it needs to connect either to one of these like this if it goes up to that. Now this is a 7. And this is bricked. Yeah, a shape can't end like this. Or like that. So this can't work. Can this work? Yes. But this can't end there. And can't end there. So this is illegal. This is interesting. This is interesting because I feel like this teaches me something. If we have a 6 here and a 7 here. A shape here can't end here, so it has to continue across there. And can't end here, so it has to continue across there. Which means we can never have a shape where this is one region and this is a second region and they're different numbers. They can be the same region. Or they can be different regions that are the same number. But they can't be different numbers across a space. That's interesting. Does that mean anything in terms of, like, being able to start this goddamn puzzle? If this is a 6 like this, it could work, right? Like, they could just completely overlap it. So maybe this is not an illegal situation. Right, if this is a 6 and this is a 7. Did we ever get super missiles? We did not get super missiles. I gotta go back to Super Sudokoid and unlock super missiles. Maybe that'll help here. I need more Renban arrows. Can this ever be 2 different regions? Yeah, if these are both 6s, then this could be a 7. Right? Like, something like this kind of works. Now, this needs to be a 7. It does not touch this 7. Except this all needs to be 1 6. If I do this. Yeah, it feels like if I'm doing something like this, then it needs to... It needs, like, this, whatever this 7 is, would need to come up to here. So as to not force the 6 to cover too much space. Because, like, these two now need to be separate 6s like this. Except now we have two 6s touching each other, so everything's a problem. Now this is broken. Like, there's so many ways in which this breaks. But only after you have committed to, like, dropping a shape on the board. And shapes can go anywhere. And trying to develop rules within which the shapes can fit has not worked out well for me so far. It's the thing about shapes, it can kind of do whatever. Yeah, I hate shapes. Like, I think there are certain restrictions that I can place on shapes, but none of them result in any guarantees on this board. None of them result in a wall that I can draw or a region that I can place. I feel like if I keep on assessing the way these rules interact, eventually I'll hit on some kind of interaction like this one, where the 6s and 7s need to be arranged in such a way that they have to start in a given location, and then everything will spread out from there almost immediately. But I haven't quite figured out how these restrictions work in the general case. This feels like a speech that you already have memorized, Chrono. Bourgeoisie. Okay, sure, sure. Appropriate to work color puns into the speech. This can't end here. This cannot be the end of a shape. Right? Knowing that shapes can't end in a corner tell me something about how shapes must be placed. Like, any shape that is around here, for example, cannot end like that. So either has to take up multiples of these spots or has to avoid the box. And this isn't going to work either. Okay, so there is additional restrictions about how shapes end in the center, right? Because I can't have this kind of border with these shapes. This shape ending like this requires that the next 6 cover it completely. Right? I can't have a shape that ends here, because that'll result in something bricky or loopy. Here results in something loopy. So it's got to fully cover this corner. And now these two have to be the same shape. So this isn't valid. This kind of setup here is a problem. So you have to use the empty spots and these kind of pockets on the edges. This doesn't work. This can't end there. This can. This needs to be a 7. Likewise, this needs to be a 7. This can't end there. That breaks. That doesn't work either. So this means this has to cross, and has to cross there, and then corner has to cross there, and there. And then this would need to be... yeah, still can't do that. Still can't do this thing here. Does this work? Because now I need a 6 that does this. And we're broken. It's over. So, like, the borders of a given shape need to be broken up. I think that's part of the problem. Is like, we could do something like this. And then this 7 needs to get its borders broken up here. Right? So now this gets to be a 7. That covers all of this. And we're in trouble. Turns out there's quite a lot that shapes can't do. Yes, yes, that is the conclusion that we are coming to here. Like, this needs to end here so that I can run things around both ends of it. But then how do I manage this mess? This can't end there. Like, this kind of works. But this bricks. But, like, this is very illegal. Kind of want to start with something like this, so it's already broken up partially. Right? And then this breaks this up even further. This needs to be a 6. This is a 7, so I can touch that. Now this is room for a 7 all the way across, which I'm sure is not healthy. This doesn't work. Has to do something like that, but then this is bricky. But I think this is the kind of direction I'm going for, where each shape's border is broken up by an edge of some kind. There's a reason I keep referring to referring to this puzzle as the meme puzzle. Because the thought had, in fact, occurred to me, Chrono. Isn't it bad to have three regions touching that upper hole here? Not necessarily. The pseudo loopy from size separation breaks at the holes. I think it is inherently meaningless, Cryptomancer. I think that is kind of the point. If I'm remembering correctly, there is a song in which somebody is referred to as being 6'7" or 6'7", and somebody found that funny, and everybody else agreed. I think the top middle 3 holes need the same shape connecting them. Maybe that's a better way to start, is like figuring out how the various holes connect with each other. Like if there's a shape that's drawn from one hole to another. Or something down here, like figure out how the shapes fill in this space. Using the holes to break up the borders of the shape. And I keep not quite internalizing the lesson that I need to learn about how shapes connect around the hole either. Because, like, a shape ending like this is illegal because of Bricky. So it needs to continue up. And in this case, it can't do this either because of Bricky. But then I have whatever this is, 6 or 7, and both of these need to be that same thing. Which either means they need to connect, or they need to be separated by another shape in the middle. So each given square, I think, needs to have either 2 or 4 shapes connected around it. Because, like, I was thinking about it, if 2 different shapes connect across, or don't connect across, right? Like, a shape ends here-ish, and a shape ends here-ish. If these 2 can't be different numbers. Right? This can't be a 6 and a 7. These need to both be 7s or both be 6s. Puzzle basically has shape parity. Yeah. And if I try and, like, loop them around like this, now I'm in a position where this needs to be the same number as this. So it can't touch it, which means there needs to be another shape separating it. And if they're not touching, then there is shapes in between them. But yes, shape parity means anything touching around an edge needs to retain numbers, like, needs to number appropriately. Swap between the ranges, the available ranges. And a corner cannot end like this. Yeah, really difficult to piece this together. All right, well, unfortunately, I have not quite come to grips with this puzzle yet, and I do need to call it for the day. I need to end a bit early here, because I am doing a Grand Archive online thing later tonight. So I am once again going to claim defeat with this puzzle. So at some point later, we're going to have to come back and actually figure this out, but it's not going to be tonight. Alas. That's the second time I have had to bail on this puzzle. Not happy about it. This one's going to require a lot of water, maybe some ibuprofen. It's going to require something for sure. We're definitely haven't hit the necessary epiphany. But yeah, well, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out at some point in the future, or we'll go back to easy puzzles. There's a ton more puzzles to play in this game that are not exactly that puzzle.